How to quit alcohol the easy way.
1. Do not think I must never have another drink. That would create a feeling of deprivation. Instead, start with a feeling of, isn't it great? My life is no longer dominated by devastation. 2. Having made what you know to be the correct decision, never ever question that decision. This is one of the key differences between Easy Way and the willpower method. The difficulty in quitting lies not in the physical withdrawal pains, but in continuing to mentally crave a drink and in questioning your decision. With some decisions it's difficult to weigh up the pros and cons, but there are no pros whatsoever to drinking devastation. If you begin to question your decision, you will start to crave for a drink. You will feel miserable and deprived if you don't have one, and you'll feel even more miserable if you do. If you begin to doubt your decision, you're on a loser either way. 3. Do not, I repeat, do not try to avoid thinking about the fact that you no longer drink alcohol. Let me illustrate the futility of such an exercise. I'd like you not to think about a huge pink elephant. What have you started to think about? It's impossible to deliberately not think about something. It's like worrying about not being able to sleep at night. The more you worry about it, the more you guarantee that you won't be able to sleep. In any event, there's no need not to think about it. There's nothing bad happening. On the contrary, there is something marvelous happening. It's what you're thinking that's important. If you are thinking, I'd love a drink, or when will I be free, you'll make yourself miserable. If you're thinking, Eureka, I'm already free, you will enjoy thinking about it. And the more you think about it, the happier you'll be. 4. Be aware that for a few days there will be a little monster inside your body wanting to be fed. The feeling might register as just an empty, insecure feeling, or just the feeling of, I want a drink. Either way, don't worry about it. Remember, that is what you've been suffering ever since you fell into the trap. And it's so slight, we don't even know it's there most of the time. But you need to be aware that the little monster exists and that it will soon die. Think of it that way. Imagine that little monster as an evil goblin perched on your shoulders, tightening its legs around your throat and demanding endless supplies of alcohol. It is him that's dependent on alcohol, not you. Once you realize that, he's lost his power over you. The situation is reversed. You now control him. You're going to starve him of alcohol, and you're going to revel in his death throes. 5. Don't worry if you occasionally forget that you've quit. By that, I do not mean that you can have the occasional snifter. That feeling of, I want a drink, might be due to the death throes of the goblin, or simply that you've forgotten that you've quit. Don't confuse it with doubting your decision. It's rather like when you buy a new car. The indicator switch is bound to be where the horn was on the old one. I'm convinced the manufacturers do it deliberately. For a few days, whenever you try to indicate, you blow your horn. Every other motorist in sight is thinking, what's he honking for? The idiot's doing a right turn and not even indicating. I pride myself that I never indulge in road rage. On one rare occasion, I hit the horn when another motorist cut me up. Not a sound came out. Instead, I was blinded by my own windscreen washer. The incident itself wasn't so bad, but now, every time I'm cut up, I have to put up with Joyce's, "Give him a squirt, Alan." The point I'm making is that it takes time to adjust, but it's nothing to worry about. I didn't want to squirt, I wanted to indicate. You might well get that feeling of a void or wanting a drink, particularly over the next few days. If and when it happens, reverse it immediately. Just remind yourself, this is the death throes of that goblin on my back. It's what drinkers suffer throughout their drinking lives. Isn't it marvellous? I'm free. That way, the slight pangs immediately become moments of pleasure. Get into the habit of doing that over the next few days. Unless you reverse those pangs immediately, you will be doubting your decision. Remember, any slight aggravation that you might suffer over the next few days is not because you stopped drinking, but because you started. Non-drinkers don't have this problem. Any major alteration in your life takes time to adjust to, even an improvement, like a better home, job, or car. You may feel a little strange or disorientated over the next few days, but don't worry about it. You'll soon adjust. If you start to worry about it, you'll create a phobia and never adjust. 6. Do not wait to become a non-drinker. One of the main problems of the willpower method is that you're never sure when you're free. In fact, recovering alcoholics believe they can never be permanently free. They are waiting to see if they will not drink again. They're actually waiting for something to not happen. It merely confirms that they are always in doubt. How can you be sure when you're free? Easy. Just follow these instructions. And one of the instructions is to realize that you'll be free the moment you finish the last drink. Take one day at a time and take each day as it comes are meaningless platitudes. How can you do anything else? They're part of the willpower method. Don't even attempt to face the rest of your life without alcohol. Just take each day as it comes. What a morbid prospect. Life is wonderful. Remember that you haven't given up living. You haven't given up anything. You spent much of your life in prison. Don't waste another precious day. 7. Accept that just as drinkers, non-drinkers, and ex-drinkers all have good days and bad days, so do people who have quit drinking. If alcohol genuinely made people happy, drinkers would never be unhappy. The tendency when people stop drinking is to blame everything that goes wrong on the fact that they've quit. All that does is to start you doubting your decision and moping for a situation that never existed. Be aware that time is on your side. Nobody can prevent your escape. And as each day passes, you'll feel more confident, happier, healthier, and wealthier. But don't wish your life away. If it's a good day, enjoy it to the full. If it's a bad day, remind yourself that it would have been so much worse if you were still a drinker. 8. Realize that you are in control of the craving and not the other way round. The most common questions that I'm asked are, how long will it take for the little monster to die? And when will the craving go? It's not possible to tell when the little monster dies, because that very slight empty feeling is inseparable from a hunger for food or normal stress. This is one of the reasons why drinkers using the willpower method are never quite sure when they're free. Long after the little monster has died, their brains misinterpret normal hunger or stress as, I need a drink. The point is, the feeling is so slight anyway that you don't need to worry about it. For convenience, I've referred to the little monster as craving alcohol. In reality, the little monster never craves alcohol any more than your body craves food. Your body merely signals the empty feeling to your brain. It's only your brain that is capable of craving anything. At some point in the near or distant future, your brain may well say, I need a drink. You are still in control. Whether the thought was triggered by the little monster or the fact that you'd temporarily forgotten that you no longer drink or for any other reason, you are still in control. You have the choice of either reminding yourself that you are now free from the nightmare or starting to mope for a drink. 9. Do not mourn. If a close friend or relative dies, you have to go through a grieving process. No matter how great the pain, time does begin to heal the wound. Life goes on, but that wound will never completely heal. Drinkers go through a similar trauma when they attempt to quit by using the willpower method. They know that they'll be better off as non-drinkers, but they still retain the brainwashing. They believe that they're losing a genuine friend or crutch. Some do manage to escape, but they never feel completely free. They remain vulnerable. The problem is that they're still surrounded by the demon drink, and the brainwashing is as bad as ever. It only needs a tragedy, or just one little slip, and in no time at all, they find themselves not just back in the pit, but at rock bottom. But if an enemy dies, there's no need to mourn. On the contrary, you can rejoice from the moment of his death, and you can continue to rejoice for the rest of your life. It's your choice. You can spend the next few days moping because you can no longer drink, or for the rest of your life, whenever the subject of alcohol crosses your mind, you can think, Eureka! I'm free! 10. Don't alter your life in any other way purely because you've quit drinking. Some experts advise you to avoid pubs, restaurants, the company of drinking friends, and other situations in which you might be tempted. No wonder drinkers find it so difficult to quit using such tactics. The best policy is to go to a pub or a party immediately, to prove to yourself that you don't have to wait in order to enjoy yourself without drinking. It doesn't matter if you are the only non-drinker at the party. There is a covert mental battle between drinkers and non-drinkers. Drinkers that love you will be delighted that you have quit, but part of their brain will hate you for quitting. They'll sense that you are truly free, and this will make them feel insecure. In that battle, the non-drinker has a hand of 4 aces, the drinker doesn't have a pair of 2s. It's at such times that you might forget that you've quit. You've just been explaining how great you feel since you quit drinking. Someone asks you what you're drinking, and without even thinking you say, "I'll have my usual." You feel absolutely ridiculous, and the guffaws of your friends don't help. It's at times like these that you can start doubting whether you really are free. Don't worry. The fact that you've forgotten that you didn't drink, surrounded by drinkers, and in a situation where you would previously have been drinking, is actually proof that it doesn't bother you. But don't just stand there looking glum. Say to those drinkers, "Do you know, I feel so relaxed about it that I'd forgotten I'd quit. You should try it." I guarantee they'll start assuring you how much they enjoy it and how they can take it or leave it. They'll expect you to be miserable. And when they see you relaxed and happy, they'll think you're superhuman. More important, you'll be feeling superhuman. 11. Resist the temptation to convert your friends. When you're truly free, it's only natural to want to help your friends to escape. You might also be tempted to explain the true facts about alcohol as a defensive maneuver in the covert battle between yourself and your drinking friends. Try to resist the temptation. It'll just provoke a heated argument, cause you frustration, and actually make it harder for your friend to quit. Trying to persuade a drinker who doesn't understand the alcohol trap to quit is like trying to force someone who suffers from claustrophobia into a small lift. However, you'll find that when they see that you are a truly free spirit, they'll start to ask questions. This means that they too would like to be free. You're now dealing not with panic, but an open mind. Even then, go softly, softly. You can get almost as much pleasure helping someone else to escape as you do from escaping yourself. 12. If possible, alter the parts of your lifestyle which you don't like. This might appear to be a contradiction of instruction number 10. Let me use an example. Avoid drinking friends, but not friends who happen to drink. Perhaps I still need to elaborate. Don't change or even avoid a true friend because he drinks. If you do, you'll be making a genuine sacrifice. But if, for example, you were in the habit of calling into the same pub after work just to have a drink, you might well have become friendly with similar lost souls. If your only common interest was to drink alcohol, to continue the habit would only frustrate and bore you. But if you enjoyed a game of darts or snooker at the venue and you wish to carry on, by all means continue to do so. Once you have removed the goblin from your back, you'll probably find that you've been in the habit of wasting a lot of your time. At first you may find you don't know how to fill this time. Don't worry about it. 4 things you can't have too much of are time, energy, love, and money. Alcohol ravages all these things. You'll have so much more of each of these valuable commodities. Spend them wisely on activities that give you genuine pleasure. Enjoy the challenge of restructuring your life. I like to exercise daily, not because I've quit drinking, but for the purely selfish reason that all aspects of life are so much more enjoyable when you feel fit and healthy. Don't confuse occupying yourself usefully with substitutes. 13. Do not use substitutes. Whether that substitute is an activity, a non-alcoholic drink, an item of food, or anything else. Let me make this quite clear. I'm not saying don't eat. I'm not saying don't drink. I'm saying don't use excess food or beverages as substitutes for alcohol. If you enjoy a certain activity, go for it. But do it because you enjoy it, not as a substitute for drinking alcohol. By even thinking of using a substitute, you are subconsciously telling yourself that you're making a sacrifice. Get it clear in your mind that you don't need a substitute. Drinking alcohol didn't fill a void in your life. On the contrary, it created one. When you get over a bout of flu, do you search for another disease to take its place? Your object is to be rid of two monsters. The little monster is so slight that it's not a problem. The real problem is the big monster in the brain. You know you didn't need to drink alcohol before you became hooked. The whole key is to prove to yourself as quickly as possible that you can enjoy life and cope with it without alcohol. 14. Enjoy breaking false associations. At one time, I couldn't imagine a wedding, a party, a holiday, Christmas, a game of golf, or even a meal without alcohol. The truth is that I couldn't imagine life without alcohol. I truly believed that if ever I did manage to quit, I might just as well spend the rest of my life in a monastery. But all of those things that I mentioned are pleasant occasions in their own right. However, if you tell yourself that you can't enjoy them without poisoning and inebriating yourself, then you won't be able to. Not only is it enjoyable to purge the poison from your body, but it can be even more enjoyable to break these associations and free yourself from the slavery in the mind. It's essential to break these false associations now. 15. Never envy drinkers. They all suffer from a disease called alcoholism. The fact that they're oblivious to it, and might remain so throughout their lives, is their loss. Would you envy someone who was HIV positive but wasn't aware of it? Get it clear that whenever you see anyone drink alcohol on any occasion, they are not doing so because they choose to, but because they have fallen for an ingenious, subtle confidence trick. Also remember that you are not being deprived. It's the drinkers who are being deprived of their health, their money, their energy, their courage, their concentration, their self-respect, their peace of mind, and their freedom. Drinking alcoholic drinks is nothing more or less than addiction to alcohol. You wouldn't envy a heroin addict. Heroin kills an infinitesimal number of people in the UK compared to the 40,000 that die annually from alcoholism. Like all drug addiction, alcoholism doesn't get better. It gets worse and worse.